Well, the time is just gone 9:22 a.m. as we continue with the broadcast this morning, and Jummah Inspirations. It is on this blessed day of Jummah. Alhamdulillah. Once again, we are able to enjoy the mercy and the blessings of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and the benefits of this beautiful day of Jummah. And it is now time for our Nasiha segment, Jummah Inspirations, and we're going across to be joined by our respected Honorable Mufti Hussain Hathiani from the Lakefield Masjid. Mufti Saab, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome and Jazakallah khairan so much for your time.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah so much for having us.
Yes, inshallah, looking forward to some wonderful advices on this beautiful day of Jummah, on this blessed day of Jummah, inshallah. So, Mufti Saab, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the platform is all yours.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Honorable, respected elders, mothers, brothers, fathers, and all the listeners. Firstly, we thank Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala for the numerous bounties Allah has blessed us. And amongst the many, many bounties Allah has blessed us, the greatest of which is the blessing of Iman. The mere fact Allah chose us to be amongst the Ummah of Habib Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's the greatest boon and bounty of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Like I always mention in my talks that the reality of this will become apparent in front of every believer is the day he or she closes his eyes or her eyes, etc. But on the same token also, Habib Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam advised us in various manners and various ways in a hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this morning I'd like to touch on one of the common hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went on to explain. And the reason I decided to touch on this aspect is because now it's December period, it's holiday period. Everybody is deciding perhaps to take some break somewhere across the globe as well. Take schools are closed, etc. So sometimes it happens that there's a lot of time on hand, and a person gets involved in futile aspects, etc. The hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam indicates towards this particular aspect is whenever we travel, wherever we are, wherever we will be visiting, irrespective, Nabi of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam goes on to say, La haythu ma kuntum. Ya Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, wherever you are. وَأَتْبِعِ السَّيِّئَةَ الْحَسَنَةَ تَمْحُهَا. And when you happen to sin, ideally is not to sin, but if you happen to sin, then immediately follow it up with a good action. Why? Because it will erase the ill effects of your sin, inshallah. وَخَالِقِ النَّاسِ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. And have good character, conduct of character, as far as people is concerned. Become a people's person. Habib Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself was a people's man. That's why Sahaba, when they speak of Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, whenever they explained Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they always described him to be the one that gave each one of them the most attention. Why? Because every time the Nabi of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam happened to be indulged in any sort of conversation with any Sahabi, that Sahabi felt that he was the closest, or rather the most important person to Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam. And that is very important, is when you're addressing someone, become a people person. People should feel comfortable to address. Sometimes it happens that the elderly in a family becomes difficult, but the youngster wants to go and open up to his uncle, perhaps his father, perhaps his mother, his parents, his uncles, his aunties, his grandparents. But then we sideline to that extent. So he can only come and tell us certain things, and certain things he cannot. In that, the youngster doesn't open up. Many a times it even happens with teachers and students. It even happens in the madrasas as well, between the ustad and the student as well, in the hifz classes. Irrespective, even in our working environment, if there's something we need to speak and something of haqq, then we should not hold back. but at the same time approach it in such a way which is the most appropriate way. So if something is not right, approach it with total hikmah, etc. But the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever he indulged in any sort of discussions or rather conversation with any Sahabi, he was always uh, speaking to them on that level where they felt that they were the closest to the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Coming back to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where I started, Nabi alayhi salam said, "Ittaqillah haythuma kunt." Fear Allah Ta'ala wherever you are. Now this explains to us that it's not just wherever you are, in whatever position that we are in, even in our businesses, in our day-to-day life, as a youngster being in his prime youth or her prime youth, in the varsities, etc., being out on holiday, those that will be traveling in various places, etc., for holiday, irrespective wherever we are, we should fear Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. The thing is, we tend to forget that there is a Allah that we have to, at the end of the day, turn around and answer to when our time comes to go in our grave. And that is something, and Allah Ta'ala keeps on asking in the Quran in various places, my banda, my servant, why are you leaving me and going? فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? Where are you leaving me and going? And that is something, Allah Ta'ala is, the tone, فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ, is of love. Allah Ta'ala loves this ummah of Habib Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah Ta'ala wants to forgive us. What more better day of earning forgiveness of Allah Ta'ala more than the day of Jummah? Today being the day of Jummah, a lot of us probably have already stopped working or perhaps are on leave. Schools are closed in various places, etc., in various countries as well. Let's take the time out to go to the masjid, today being the day of Jummah, to go to the masjid early, indulge ourselves in tilawat of the kalam of Allah. Perhaps a lot of times we do not even read the Quran. And amongst the many nasihats that ulama give, one of the common one is try and indulge in recitation of kalam of Allah on daily basis. On daily basis. When we go somewhere, our a'mal should not be compromised. Our salah should not be compromised. Our should not be compromised. It doesn't mean we're on holiday. We tend to let loose and we tend to let our guard off. That's the same Allah we worship while whilst we're at home. So let us come closer to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Go to the masjid. Carry out that action of sunnah of being early in the masjid on the day of Jumu'ah. Be clad in clean and clean clothing. Apply fragrance. Go there, sit and indulge in tilawat, durood upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I end by this hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. Salawat on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, especially being day of Jummah and obviously the topic being Jummah as well. One of the common hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam indicates towards the aspect of salawat upon him. And generally, being holiday period also, we curious to know where we're traveling, so we start looking at pictures, we start looking at the destination, the area, we Google, we find out, etc. We want to see the place before we get there so we can plan. Those that will be traveling for holiday, or even if we're going to visit somewhere, someplace new, or some family member, or irrespective, we're looking for direction, how to get there, or means how to get there. Similarly, a believer, his journey is towards Jannah. And while it's going towards Jannah, he wants to see or she wants to see his or her place in Jannah. And the easiest way to do that is the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us, that person that reads 1,000 duroos or more on the day of Jummah, inshallah, will not leave this dunya until he or she has not seen the abode in Jannah al-Firdaus. Subhanallah. In Jannah, we need to see our destination. And being the day of Jumu'ah, that's one of the fadail and obviously virtues regarding the day of Jumu'ah. So inshallah, let's indulge ourselves and spend our day correctly. Recite Surah Al-Kahf as well as make sure our Yasin was recited this morning. Those of us that have not recited, let's take our time and recite that as well. And then spend the day in durood and salawat upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the last thing is before Maghrib Salah, the riwayat of Bukhari goes on to explain that is the time of acceptance of dua. That is the time of acceptance of dua on weekly basis, just before Maghrib Adhan. So let's take that time out also. Try for the Ummah of Habib Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the youth of this Ummah, and for our progenies to come. Allah Ta'ala keep us with Iman, take us with Iman, resurrect us with Iman, and let us stand among the ranks of Sahaba and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and behind Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam on the day of Qiyamah. Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq to practice. وما علينا إلا البلاغ. سبحان الله سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Jazakallah khairan so much, Mufti Sahib. Allah Ta'ala accept, Allah grant us the ability to understand and more importantly to practice upon what He said. Allah Ta'ala reward your efforts and for your time with us this morning right here on Salam Media in providing this wonderful nasiha, inshallah. Jazakallah once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
جزاكم خيرا. السلام عليكم. وعليكم السلام.
Mufti Hussain Hathiani from the Lakefield Mosque this morning, the all-important Jummah Nasiha. We're going to go for a break. We'll be back.